I want to talk to you about self-confidence this week. What is it? What is it not? Why you should have tons of it. And then most importantly of all, how do you go about building it if it's a bit low right now? Let's get started. Hi, this is Simon Phillips, and this week's episode is all about self-confidence and why we should have a hell of a lot of it. It's good for you. It's not just good for you, it's good for others too. But let's start by thinking about why people struggle with it. And I think it's because of some things that it isn't. Self-confidence is not arrogance. Self-confidence is not cockiness. Self-confidence is not being boastful. All of those words, I think we've just carried around with us from when we were young, when maybe we were being arrogant and boastful and cocky, and people said to us, you shouldn't be those things. And we've interpreted that to mean if we are just feeling good about ourselves or feeling confident at anything that we're doing, we've interpreted it to be at that extreme end where absolutely we don't want to live there. We do want to live here though, because it's so empowering, not just for us as individuals, but for the people around us. Self-confidence breeds confidence in others. So let's ask ourselves, what is self-confidence then? Self-confidence is knowing that you are fine. It's knowing you are beautiful, you are kind, you're one of a kind. And you can do all of that. You can be all of those things and just be you. In fact, I love this quote that I picked up the other day from Harpreet M. Dayal. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. She's an artist and an author, and she said it very simply. I am me, nothing more, nothing less, and that is enough. So I said I was going to spend quite a bit of time today on helping you build your self-confidence if it's low at the moment. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab some paper, we're going to put our laptop into action, we're going to tap into our phone, and in all those places, wherever you like to make a list, I want you to start listing all of your achievements to date. Sometimes we lack confidence because we choose to forget all the great things that we've done in our lives. I can imagine that you've achieved all sorts, but if you can't, ask some of the people closest to you. Ask them, what do you think I've achieved? And I bet you they will give you a much bigger list than maybe you've even can remember right now. So you're going to list everything from the swimming certificate you got, to the qualifications you may have got in school, to the things that you did maybe if you went to university, or your first job, or that time that you raised some money for a local community project, or you helped someone on their way. You gave somebody some really timely advice and it helped them in the moment. Or maybe it was something you did last week. You gave somebody your seat on the bus. It really doesn't matter what you're putting in this list. Everything that you add are things that you can reflect on and think, I did that. Now, the value of a list like this is it helps us in those moments when we are maybe feeling our own confidence is low. Maybe we're thinking, I'm not as good as that person. I haven't achieved all the things that I wanted to achieve. By looking at that list, we can suddenly realize I've achieved an awful lot. Now, those achievements don't have to be massive. They just have to be things that make you feel like you're worthy. I know you're worthy. The people around you know you're worthy, just as you know that the people around you are worthy. But sometimes we forget to thank ourselves and recognize ourselves and our own achievements. And that's what this little exercise is all about. List those achievements, everything you can think of. because there will be times you're going to want to come back to that, and it will give you that necessary boost. The second little list I'd like you to create is one of your talents. What talents do you have? Now, I'm not saying that a talent is only a talent if it's world class. I'm not saying that unless you're Ed Sheeran, or unless you're, let me have a think, Lionel Messi, or unless you are Tom Hanks, that you don't have a specific talent. Your talent could literally be in engaging other people. It could be when you tell a joke, people anticipate the joke before you've even started and they're smiling and they're laughing. It could be you have a particular way of putting a certain recipe together that people love. It could be that when you're with someone, you have a calmness around you, a serenity that enables them to feel calm. It could be you have a memory for things and you love to let people know that you're thinking about them. It could be you have a particular talent for remembering numbers, or you see patterns in numbers and mathematically you're really clever. It could be you have a lovely way of streaming words together and create poetry with no effort whatsoever. It could be that you're fantastic at doodles and you can create these amazing images really quickly. It could be that you have an eye when you're looking at something through a lens on your phone, that you can take a great picture. Now, how are we measuring the talent? How are we measuring great? I want you to measure it through your own eyes. And I know you're sort of thinking, yeah, but if I look at that, I think it's rubbish. But I want you to be more honest than that. Because actually, if it was your best friend, or if it was a child, or if it was someone that you thought you actually wanted to let them know that this was a good thing they were doing, you would have a much more honest appraisal of the things that you do. Be your own best friend. Remember, we talked about that before. If you were your own best friend, how would you view your talents? What would they be? Again, don't be afraid to ask the people around you, what do you think is my unique talent? They'll tell you. Some of them you might not like, but that's what friends are for, aren't they? To get that banter going. But it does matter when it comes to being honest about self-appraisal. What is it that you are good at? What do you have a talent for? Okay, so listing achievements and listing our talents is great for boosting our inner self-confidence. But I want to point you towards another little tool. And this is something that it may not be obvious straight away how it's going to help you, but I can assure you it will. And that is to set yourself a goal. There's magic to setting goals. If you set yourself a goal, what you're effectively saying is, I am worthy enough to go for something. I'm good enough to give something a shot. I'm going to put my time and my effort into this, and I'm going to see how far I get. So you're not really prejudging yourself, you're just giving something a go. That goal might be a small one to start, but soon your self-confidence will grow as you achieve these small steps that you set yourself. A goal creates some discipline for us. It helps us recognize that actually I don't want to drift. I actually want to do something purposeful and meaningful. By putting the goal in place, we are increasing our own self-worth. The next one is I want you to catch yourself in those moments when you're saying something negative about you, your abilities, your talents, your achievements, your ability to do anything. I've heard people introduce a topic with, I'm not very good at this. Or they say things like, could you do that because I'm dreadful at this? Or they say things like, I'm really not that confident about this. What would you say? Or they say things like, I think you should ask because they know this a lot better than me. If those are the types of phrases that you hear yourself saying over the next week, I'm going to give you a 7-day challenge. And that 7-day challenge is to catch yourself in those moments, to pause and to reframe it. Reframing is literally saying the same thing, but just putting it in a light that is more empowering. Things like, I haven't done this very often. I'd be very happy to have another go. James is great at this. I'd love to be as good as him. I'm going to give it a go. You're basically setting yourself up to give something your best shot. You're setting yourself up as someone who is out there, pushing, trying, setting yourself challenges because you believe that it's possible. So have an acute listening ear. I'm sure you will. Now that I've said this, you will hear yourselves over the next few days saying some of these things. And as I say, pause and restate it. How can you restate it in an empowering way, a way that is only going to contribute to the development of your self-confidence rather than putting yourself down? Now, it's a very British thing to do for those of you listening from the UK. It's a very British thing to do to put ourselves down and be self-deprecating. And there are times when self-deprecation can be humorous, or it can encourage somebody else to maybe chip in and be part of the conversation. But if it's your MO, it's your modus operandi, it's the way that you typically respond to any question about can you do something, then I'd like you to catch yourself this week. That 7-day challenge is all about catching ourselves, saying things that are disempowering. And the last thing I'm going to suggest you do is get yourself a hobby. The thing that holds most people back from drawing more, painting more, writing more, creating a collection, putting some time and effort into exercise is they just don't get started. What holds us back? It's typically we don't think that we're going to be very good. I'm reading a lot at the moment. In fact, this month's book of the month is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And in there, she's talking about the mindset of a true artist. A true artist, you might assume, just as I did, to be honest, is someone who is incredibly self-confident. They just want to go out there and push the boundaries and create incredible art. No, the true artist is the person who day after day after day after day after day can't think of doing anything other than doodling, sketching, painting, drawing, putting some time and effort in, even when the results are not obvious, even when the results are not as good as they maybe hope they could be. But it doesn't stop them. The true artist is someone who can't help but do those things. And that's why I'm saying get yourself a hobby. Put yourself and your time and your energy into a hobby with no thought of the benefits that you're going to get from it or the outputs that you're going to create. Just do it for the love of doing it. Because when we immerse ourselves into things, what tends to happen is we take the spotlight off ourselves and focus on the thing that we're doing. And that's what I want you to think about with the idea of picking up a hobby. Because really, self-confidence comes down to imagining that the whole world is looking at us, is judging us, is looking at the things that we're doing and saying and mocking them or thinking that they're not as great as the next person, and the reality couldn't be any more different. It saddens me to say that even me, people aren't watching me from all over the world all the time. They're not watching my every movement. They're not listening to my every word. In fact, most of the people who are still here at this point in the video, you haven't really listened to me that much. There's bits that you've caught here and there. People really don't care about you and about the things that you're doing and the things that you worry about. Now, there are people in the world who care for you and want to be there if you need some support, but they're really, really not interested in what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. They're not judging you. They're not listening to you thinking, oh, I wonder why they said it that way, or I wonder why they're dressed like that, or I wonder why they're even showing me that drawing because it's rubbish. People don't think that way. People are actually mostly getting on with their own lives. And that's the biggest thing that I want you to remember. Your self-confidence will breed confidence in other people. So the fact that you are confident about the things that you're doing will give a nice ripple effect out to the people that you impact. So the people that will pay attention are those that get inspired by what you do. And you don't know how they're going to be inspired. It might be the output of what you do that inspires them. It might be the way you say it that inspires them. But most probably it will be the fact that you're putting the effort in and keeping going and persisting and being consistent in what you do. That will probably be the reason you will inspire others. And what will inspire you to do that is if you take the focus off yourself and put the focus on others. How can I help people? How can I support people? How can I just share some of my own thinking in a way that maybe, just maybe, inspires one other person? I hope you found that useful. Go out there this week, do that 7-day challenge, build your self-confidence. You have so much to offer the world. And indeed, like that lovely saying, you are the world to at least one other person. Go and find them and have a great week. Come back here next week, give me a like, tap on notifications and subscribe. I'd love to see you back here next time, and let me know in the comments what is useful. What are you finding useful? What would you like me to discuss next? I'll see you soon.